Hey everyone, so today we're going to be looking at this magazine that I got, Der Stern 1963, the edition of May 19th, 1963. So in this issue, there is a not exactly an article, but like a smaller, kind of like a mini article that discusses the divorce of Gerhard Martin Sommer from his second wife, Barbara Ulrich. Der Stern published an article in 1958 about the marriage between Barbara Ulrich and Martin Sommer. It was called Marriage with the Devil, and I did do a video about that previously. And so now I did receive this copy of this magazine in the mail. It's an original kind of like edition, and I'm going to show the article today, and we're just going to kind of talk about it, and I'm going to read the translation, and then we can kind of just see what it has to say. So I learned about this. I didn't know that this mini article even existed until I read a PhD dissertation by that I think you can find on the internet. It's one of the search results that comes up when you Google, Gerhard Martin Sommer. It's basically a paper that kind of talks about the public reaction, the reaction of the German public to Nazi trials after World War II ended. So there were many Nazi trials in which criminals from the Nazi era were brought to justice, and the atrocities that they had perpetrated were brought to light. And that paper kind of just discusses, the public reaction to these really horrifying truths. So I am going to kind of just show you guys the article. Okay, so I just want to open up my computer because I did translate the article there, and now we're gonna get started looking at the article. So this one is this edition of Der Stern is pretty big. It's actually very large, and compared to the other magazine I have, I feel like this one is much bigger. Like when I looked at it, I was like, whoa, it's much bigger, and it also has many pages. So the article is on the article's on page 158. So I learned, like I said, I learned this from the PhD dissertation that was talking about the Sommer trial, and the author of the paper mentions in one of the footnotes that in this edition, the divorce of Martin Sommer and his wife was announced. So good piece of advice for anyone who is researching not just Sommer but anything is just whenever you read a source, always read the footnotes, because you might find some really, really nice bits and pieces of information there. Anyways, here we go, 158, 55, page numbers are down here, 157. Oh, really? Okay, so now I gotta go back one. Stuck together. Okay. So this is called this little mini article means what became of them, or what happened to them, the hangman and his wife. So this is the picture right here of Sommer, right here, and I think this is the man that I think was court appointed, or was appointed to him from the Bayreuth hospital to help him get to and from wherever he needs to go. And this over here, this is a very familiar picture. We looked at it in Marriage to the Devil. This is his wife, Barbara Ulrich. Okay, so this is what the article says. It's literally just this. So that's literally all it says. So it says, unbeknownst to the public, what made headlines 7 years ago, as a marriage to the devil, was divorced in April. In an exchange, the quiet nurse, Barbara, 28, so age 28, separated from the man to whom she wanted to remain faithful despite 25 proven murders. SS Hauptscharfuhrer Gerhard Martin Sommer called the Totschläger von Buchenwald, so called the hangman of Buchenwald, or the hangman of Buchenwald. At 21 years of age, Barbara had nursed the severely war-wounded concentration camp administrator, who was almost twice her age, in the hospital for the disabled in Bayreuth, and married him in 1956 despite all warnings, even when Martin Sommer was sentenced to life in prison in 1958. His wife stood by him firmly. "For me, he's the best husband there is," she said. Today, she no longer says that. The main reason for the estrangement: prisoner Sommer tried to get money from his wife, under threats, and she barely earns enough for herself and their child. He also demanded that she not sit in a warm room, but live Spartanly, just like he did in the penitentiary. Thus, the concentration camp henchman lost the only person who had believed in him. Unrecognized, the divorced Mrs. Sommer works today as a midwife. So that is basically kind of like the end of all that. So she married him in 1956. Their marriage made public headlines. People were just so, I guess, shocked by that. And then in 1963, this article was published. So if you guys did watch my first video there's just some things that I kind of want to talk about here that I really can't help but kind of bring to everybody's attention, just because I know I should be saving this for when I actually do a full-length video on the life of Martin Sommer, but I just want to kind of unpack this right now. So first of all, it says here, the first thing I want to address is the fact that her name, people are just so the sources are not clear about what her name is. Is it this, or is it Barbara? So I know this might just be another variation of Barbara, but in the official Sommer papers, in the official Sommer trial papers, she's referred to as Barbara, but most sources referred to her by this variation of her name. And so I just thought that was weird, that none of the sources were able to really come to an unconscious consensus about what her name actually is. And the same thing with her age. Der Stern said that she was 26 when she married him, or 26 in 1958. So if she was 26 in 1958, then there's no way that she would have been 21 when she married him. She would have been she would have been 24 when she married him. There's no way she would have been 21. And so that's just kind of weird, because now they're reverting back to this 21-year-old nurse kind of thing that all the other sources were pushing. I know Der Spiegel was saying that, and literally all the books that were written about the Sommer trial at around that time say that she was 21, which is incorrect. So I don't know what Der Stern was doing, kind of going back on what it said earlier, but oh well. Okay. And the third thing that that I kind of wanted to address is, it says he tried to threaten her, he tried to get money from her under threats. But the thing is, threaten her with what? That's the question, because he's in prison. He doesn't know, he doesn't really have any he doesn't have any connections. It's not like he can, I don't know, have her killed or something. He's literally if he had that sort of outer connections or something, then I don't think he would have been in prison at that time. I think people would have submitted, things for clemency for him, but that wasn't the case, because in the Sommer papers there isn't a single account of anyone standing up for him and submitting any kind of petitions to the court for clemency. It was just, I think the only people that spoke in Sommer's defense, well, not really his defense, but like the closest thing that could come to his defense, were some letters that were written to some newspapers where they were just like, are you guys really going to be dragging a old sick person into a like court? Are you really going to subject them to that humiliation and to that inconvenience when they're already very sick? And there were other letters that were also saying like, you're basically punishing somebody for following orders, should this really be the fate of all those who followed orders under the Nazi regime? So those were the only two arguments that were for Sommer, or that spoke in Sommer's favor. And even then, there were very, very few people that actually said that. Everybody else was just like, in favor of the most harshest punishment that the West German government could possibly mete out to him. So that's the question, threaten her with what? Like, what did he threaten her with? I feel like that was what really kind of caught my attention. Like, what did he have on her, or like what did he have against her that he used to threaten her with? So much so that she felt like the only way that she could get away from him was to divorce him. And keep in mind that she didn't not only divorce him, she took out she avoided any contact with him, first of all, obviously. And in 1971, when she heard that he was getting out, she took out a restraining order against him for, kind of banning any contact, kind of like banning any contact between him and their daughter. So he wasn't allowed to he wasn't allowed to talk to her. He wasn't allowed to have any sort of contact with her whatsoever. That was the stipulation there. And a third thing is that in many, this obviously Der Stern is a magazine. It's like a tabloid. Like a magazine sort of thing. It says that they were divorced in 1963. So by publishing this article, in 1963, in an issue in 1963, it may as well be indirectly saying that they were divorced in 1963. But the thing is that in Helmut Paulus's article, and I showed that, it's called The Hangman of Buchenwald Before the Bayreuth Court, and also in another book called Kaiser Kanzler Rummelsberger. It's by Thomas Grief, and basically he also says that their marriage was divorced in 1961. And Thomas Grief, while writing his chapter about Sommer, he had access to the state archives of Bavaria that contains lots of information on Sommer's stay in the Straubing prison. It contains his correspondence. He had access to letters he wrote. He had access to the restraining order documents. He had access to many, many things. I don't really know who to believe at this point. I think Der Stern was just late in reporting this, that they divorced in 1961 and not 1963. But I just thought it was weird that the whole 2-year discrepancy between the two divorce dates, was it 1961, was it 1963? Why was Der Stern so late in finding this out? It took them 2 years since then to kind of do that. But yeah, that was basically just that. I think, to quote someone that I spoke to with about this whole research that I'm doing, this article kind of raises more questions than it does give answers. But it was interesting, regardless, to kind of see at least why it was that this marriage broke apart. This woman, Barbara Ulrich, she gave up so much just to marry this man. She gave up her reputation. She was, for all intents and purposes, her life was turned, totally upside down. She lost her job. People said all sorts of bad things about her. It was just, her reputation was ruined. She probably had to give up so much just to marry this man, Martin Sommer. And so, you'd think that if someone were to have made such a big sacrifice like that, that for one person, that they would at least, be in it for the long haul. And, if you guys did kind of watch my video about Marriage to the Devil, you'll see that she was saying some pretty good stuff about Sommer in the beginning. Like they had many shared interests. She felt like, she'd finally found her other half. She felt like, he was the best husband ever. She was like so convinced that he hadn't done the things that he had done. And it just seemed to be like she truly did believe in him and things like that. So now the question is, why did this happen? And so this article kind of really did. So when I did hear that they were divorced, I was like, that's pretty shocking, because she did all this, and then not even so not even like 10 years, and she just kind of divorced him. Or if it's 1961, it would have been 6 years. So 6 to 8 years, not even 10 years, and you just decide to kind of go your separate ways. So that was just interesting. I do hope to get more information on Sommer in the foreseeable future. I have reached out to the Bavarian archives, as a matter of fact, and I've been trying to ask them to get electronically scanned copies of some of the documents that they have regarding Sommer. I think it would be really nice if I could kind of see them, and it would kind of help kind of complete this picture that these articles, the ones that I've read in Der Stern and the one that I read Helmut Paulus's article, it would really kind of help clear things up, and kind of fill in the blanks on what really happened between these two. What exactly was it? And hopefully I will be sharing my research with everybody as I kind of get more information. But for now, that is that for this article. And yeah.